You understand, though, why people would come to that conclusion, especially because
BYU missed the playoffs 2 years in a row.
What do you mean?
Well,
BYU missed the playoffs 2 years in a row.
there was a tremendous amount of resistance.
BYU being goated.
There's you know, that's,
there were.
So here's, let me.
Did you see
Bear Boxmeyer jump over those guys?
No.
Holy shit, Jamie, pull that video.
If you're new to this channel, as most of you are, maybe I still haven't gotten it across how much I love college football. I love any game that comes up on my screen. I even watch Maction. Being immersed in this world, I am constantly bombarded by one of my least favorite opinions in college football. The opinion that the Big 12 is clearly worse than both the Big 10 and the SEC. I think there may be a small gap between the conferences, but I definitely don't think that there is some wide chasm. College football is built on the concept that any team can beat any team. So today I will break down the simplest way each team in the Big 12 can win the college football championship. Utah. The first thing on the docket for the Utah Utes is increasing Dampier's height so he can see over the offensive line and actually read defenses. The second thing is that they immediately make a pitch to Kenny Atkinson, head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and hire him as the head coach of the team. I have previously roasted Utah's president Taylor Randall for his involvement in the death of the Pac-12, caused by his manufacturing of a TV ratings model based purely out of his own schizophrenic thoughts and run-of-the-mill Utah Ute delusion. Both he and Kenny Atkinson will combine forces. Atkinson entering all of the statistics and math equations necessary for peak analytical football, while at the same time, Randall throws away his olanzapine and gets back in the lab to create his own model, which will create an expected win rate for the team. With long hours and sleepless nights, Atkinson and Randall will emerge with the ultimate model, which will propel Utah into winning every game and the championship, based purely on what plays they make on paper. It will be the first time magic and science cross over, and will end with the Utes winning the analytical championship. Colorado. The first step for Athletic Director Fernando Lovo's Colorado football team is to demote the sham of a football coach, Deion Sanders. Just demote, you ask? Yes, we need him to stay on the program, but not make any big decisions. Without the silliness of dogs and leaders distracting his players, they can get down to real strategy, doubling down on manipulating the rankings. Back in 2023, Colorado was within the top 20 of the AP poll from doing absolutely nothing. Coach Prime is a master of making something look better than it actually is. He's a marketing genius, but his problem? He's not backed by a big enough entity. The solution? Hiring Big Ten shill Joel Klatt. Joel Klatt is a former Colorado Buffalo quarterback and is a current employee of the Big Ten, and makes sure no one forgets about it whenever they watch his show. Colorado is too small of a school to be put into the Big Ten, but with Klatt, they would receive the same level of publicity and start extremely high in the AP poll for no reason at all. Combine this with the undeserved hype that Deion creates every year, they might start in the top 4 before ever playing a game. Even if they lost, it wouldn't matter. Joel would spin it as losses are a good thing. Smooth brain fans would then talk about how much aura Deion generates, and then they would persist in the top 12. With so many people tuning in to the spectacle, the TV networks won't be able to risk the profit loss that would come if Colorado didn't make it into the championship. ESPN would then join in on the propaganda train, creating the largest promotional force in sports history. Deion marketing his team as being cool, Joel Klatt shilling and spouting undeserved praise about their talent while being backed by the Big Ten, and ESPN putting the Buffaloes on TV week after week into the playoff. By sheer cult of personality, the Buffs would win the championship. And guess what we would have to call the championship? You ready? It's a brand new championship idea I just invented off the top of my head. It's called the BCS National Champion. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? UCF. With the NASA base located near the campus, the UCF Golden Knights will need to turn to an esoteric group of thinkers to give them an advantage over the college football world. the Operation Paperclip Nazi Scientists. The Ahnenerbe, or however you say this word, were a specialized group created by Heinrich Himmler to fill out the ranks of the SS. They were a special forces group made specifically to collect and study ancient artifacts and mystical objects to help with advancing the causes of the Third Reich. This group would bring out their secret weapon, the Spear of Destiny, an ancient artifact which would give the team magical powers like immortality and the power to beat their enemies. Armed with this spear, none of the players would sustain any injuries, and they would physically dominate all of their opponents, while at the same time conquering more talented teams, just like the Roman Emperor Charlemagne, who used this spear to conquer lands around Rome. The political issues of having skinheads jumping on the UCF bandwagon would be a risk they would have to be willing to take in order to achieve athletic immortality. Cincinnati. A certain former Cincinnati quarterback was involved in a bit of controversy this offseason, if you weren't already aware. All reports show that the school was well aware of the antics of their star quarterback, so the only way for them to win a championship is to lean into their reputation and double down. First step in doubling down, finding the Necronomicon. After finding the Book of the Dead, the team will then bring back to life one of the greatest gambling legends of all time, Pete Rose. The team would bring Pete Rose back to life and immediately put him in charge of recruiting and NIL. With Pete Rose at the helm, the Bearcats create a system of gambling on yourself and hitting parlays made on other teams. With the money placed on their own head, the players are forced to perform better, and when they hit their bets, the compound on their own money makes an infinite amount of income. Since college football players seem to love sports gambling, they will all want to come to this team so they can actually gamble and make guaranteed profits. With the largest NIL fund in the country and motivated players, the Bearcats absolutely dominate and become college football champions. The only thing that can stop them is the judges in each team's districts, as they provide completely unbiased rulings against the Bearcats. Since you might have to consider adding a slush fund on the side so they can pay off some of these judges. West Virginia. Alright, get ready to take some notes on this plan because it gets a little convoluted. It is a guaranteed victory for the Mountaineers if they're able to pull it off though. The first step is Pat McAfee is hired in a dual role position, serving as both offensive coordinator and head of NIL generation. Pat goes about investing in the Appalachian Mountains, committed to reviving the harvesting of natural resources such as coal mining and logging, along with investing in an international moonshining business. With a self-sustaining economy, Pat flips the profits into real estate and buys up the most obscure plots of land that are tucked deep within the Appalachia hollers. On these plots of land, Pat will construct hundreds of secret football fields to serve as the home field for the Mountaineers. The Mountaineers will win every home game because they will alternate fields, and the visiting teams will never be able to find the field they have to play at and will be forced to forfeit every game against West Virginia. In away games, Pat will instruct his offense to develop a roster of multiple punters, each one of them the best in the country. By hoarding punters, no other team will be able to compete in the field position game, and opposition will be pinned on the 1 yard line every single drive. West Virginia will set the record for most safeties forced, score 2 points every drive, and immediately get the ball back, only to punt back to the 1 yard line. Rich Rod will then bring the coveted championship home on those country roads. Kansas. The way that Kansas wins a national championship is almost too obvious. Kansas must rehire Mark Mangino. This absolute hoss of a man would then need to be given complete control of the program from top to bottom. With the new NIL era in Kansas, Mangino would be the perfect poster child for using Ozempic, taking a marketing direction similar to Jared from Subway, but only incorporating the smaller pants and not the other controversy. Mangino would plaster Ozempic across the university advertising and would generate millions of dollars to pay players. It will all be a misdirection, however. Mark would never portray his roots as a big boy football coach. He would embrace it in recruiting. Mangino would take the money and his philosophies and create the largest pound-for-pound football team in college football history. In a Nico Avocado-like plot twist, he would regain the weight and instill that every one of his players has a playing weight of at least 250 pounds for the skilled position players and over 300 pounds for linemen. They would run the ball 50 times per game and injure every team on their schedule. Just imagine in your head the image of Mangino calling the plays on the sideline, 5 Larry Allens making up his offensive line, 2 Marcellus Bennett-sized wide receivers, 2 Darnell Washingtons lined up at tight end, and a Mike Allstott impersonator running the ball. They're going to bulldoze their way to a chip.
Iowa State.
Every other school's football team dies in a plane crash. Houston. The Cougars are no doubt a basketball school and would need to embrace that identity to win. The first action taken would be to fire their current coach, dissolve the basketball program, and hire Kelvin Sampson as the head football coach while bringing over all of his skilled position players from the basketball team. Playing with the tallest and most athletic group of wide receivers in the country, the Cougars would run variation of 5 wide every single play, and their route combinations would mirror the weave, moving them up and down the field into scoring position where they would run a goal line fade to anyone in the lineup. Each receiver would outjump any corner that they're matched up with. Kelvin Sampson would finally win the big one in a sport. It just wouldn't be in basketball. Kansas State. Bench Avery Johnson. Him sitting on the bench makes any team a contender. Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State possessed the key to unlocking their championship potential. What is that key, you ask? Mike Gundy. Didn't he have one of the worst seasons in Oklahoma State history a couple years ago? Yes, I would respond, but it's only because his team lost perspective. Perspective is a difficult thing to keep completely focused 100% of the time. Mike Gundy tried to warn us. In 2007, after reading an article about one of his players playing poorly in a game, he lit into the media. In one of the most famous college football rants of all times, he claimed that they were short-sighted in going after a student that was doing everything right outside of the football field.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
What if he didn't go far enough? What if his mortal mind could only impart so much perspective on his team and he just couldn't quite reach the level of motivation that would get all of his players at optimum performance? I would argue yes. Who among us has that talent and ability to keep players 100% focused 100% of the time with a perfect perspective on how to win football games? You know what he needs? A staff that makes up some of the greatest perspectives of all time. I'm talking about Allen Iverson. Can you imagine his players hearing his thoughts on practice?
I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice.
But hold on. Wait until he gets a little off track, and boom, in comes Herm Edwards, making sure the players know we play the game to win.
You play to win the game. Hello?
What happens once the players gets too focused on winning the game and nothing else? In slides Jim Mora. Playoffs? I hope we win a game.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Now the players are focused back in that not everything is just handed to them. It's earned. And winning is not the singular goal. But what happens when they look around the clubhouse and see that they aren't made up of overwhelming talent? Rick Pitino then stands up and says, "No one is walking through that door. What we are is young, exciting, hardworking, and going to improve."
What we are is young, exciting, hardworking, and going to improve. People don't realize that.
Yes, sir, these players are pumped again. They're at the top of the world hearing that from someone in their foxhole. But into the season, those guys on the team are human. They're going to make mistakes. And what if one of them makes a great big mistake? Sniffling and sobbing will be heard from the back of the room as Coach Terrell Owens stands up and says, "That's my teammate.
It's my team. It's my quarterback."
Now the whole room is crying, and those men are bound emotionally like never before. But wait, isn't this a little soft for a football team? Coach Mike Leach thinks so. He thinks these kids have been spending a little too much time with their fat little girlfriends. He thinks there's a lack of work ethic in the group.
Points and our points more compelling than their fat little girlfriends. Now, their fat little girlfriends have some obvious advantages. For one thing, their fat little girlfriends are telling them what they want to hear, which is how great you are and how easy it's going to be and how we had a whole bunch of people. Everybody wanted to win the football game, but nobody wanted to play the football game.
But you know who's ready to step in and protect the character of these young men? Mike Gundy. And just like that, you've completed the circle of sports motivation. You're telling me Oklahoma State is ever going to lose sight of the championship with that much perspective in the room? You gotta be kidding me. TCU. This may be a personal bias, but there is an easy decision that immediately wins TCU the championship. You ready? 2 words. Max Duggan. If you witnessed it, you know what I'm talking about. That guy isn't losing twice in the big dance. Find one of them Texas judges and get him another year of eligibility. He'll get that ring. Baylor. Have you ever heard the term "don't shoot the messenger"? I have, and I think that hits the nail on the head for how Baylor takes their program up to a championship winning ability. Who is this messenger that is being shot, you ask? It's the head coach, Dave Aranda. Aranda is regarded as one of the weirdest guys in college football purely because of the clips you can pull from his press conferences.
But there's a scene in The Wolf of Wall Street where they're talking about throwing midgets, and this midget, can he, you throw him, you know what I mean? And they're made for throwing. What we need to do is make them think they're one of us. And they go, one of us, one of us. But I don't know, do you have to do that to win?
What I keep coming back to is the fact that the only reason these quotes are being labeled as borderline psychotic is because it's a bald guy who sounds uncertain with every word he says. The fix that takes his message from bizarre to Instagram edit worthy, buying Matthew McConaughey. McConaughey has made his career on making pothead statements sound like the coolest thing you've ever heard. All Baylor needs to do is give McConaughey a blank check and never allow Aranda to do a press conference again. With the X's and O's being Aranda's sole focus, and with every press conference answer being relayed through the urban cowboy persona of McConaughey, the team is destined for a championship. The plan does come with the caveat that they might also have to hire Woody Harrelson. I think him and Matthew are a package deal or something. Arizona. The University of Arizona is neither interesting enough or talented enough to win a championship. I think they should just gamble on being the funniest team in college football and hope to hit the jackpot. To achieve peak comedy, they must assemble a roster of the most insane names in college football. I have assembled a starting lineup for them. At quarterback, General Booty. At running back, Tommy Running Rabbit. Tight end, Rowdy Beers. Wide receiver 1, Booby Curry. Wide receiver 2, DeColdis Crawford. O-line, King Large. Edge, Hot Rod Fitton. D-line, Chief Borders. D-line, Shittasilla. Linebacker, Prairie Young Black Goat. Linebacker, Noah Kaniga. Linebacker, Sir Bible. Cornerback 1, Mobility. Free safety, Dude Person. Strong safety, Pig Cage. We're missing some positions, but I'm sure we can fill it out through fall camp. Arizona State. The roadblock for Arizona State making it to the national championship? Marketing. First step, removing the sun from their mascot and just going straight up Devils. Because their mascot will be Satan himself, all the other schools will think they're too scary to play against and result in all forfeits. Winner by elimination, baby. Texas Tech. Like the team their degenerate gambler transferred from, controversy has been the center of the offseason for the Red Raiders. Unlike Cincinnati, they must completely reverse course and abandon their brand. Their brand of late has been 1. Paying a lot of dirty oil money for players, and 2. Dismissing the integrity of the game and taking the NCAA gambling ruling to court. They are not exactly the saints of college football at the moment. However, the country forgets very quickly. The Red Raiders will have to rip off their in-state basketball team, San Antonio Spurs, and make the nuns a constant in their program. I don't think those nuns are going to be strong enough, though. They must then forge documents that implicate Sister Jean as a Tech fan, since Loyola didn't have a football team. And, while collecting the documents in Chicago, they must use their oil money to coerce the Pope into saying that he likes the Red Raiders more than he likes his Chicago Bears. Finally, construct a Notre Dame-like touchdown Jesus to loom over the stadium. In order for it to stay uniquely Lubbock and also avoid a trademark dispute, they'll have to call it Touchdown Jesus. BYU. And finally, my beloved BYU Cougars. Guys, despite some of the content I post about the Cougars, I love them with every single piece of my heart. They are my favorite sports team no matter what league. MLB, NFL, NBA, college football, pickleball, it don't matter. I bleed blue. But I'm going to take this time and complain about some things that might not lead to a championship, but they should have been implemented a long time ago. We need to fill in the corners of LaVell Edwards Stadium. Let's pack some more people in there. Bring back the game day lines for the student section. As a school that can't tailgate because we don't do drugs or drink alcohol, we need something that is stupid but still fun. And no, I'm not going to the stupid horseshoe throwing and butterfly tattoos at the front of the stadium. In my opinion, the activities the school wants you to go to at the front of the stadium should be a higher degree of sin than drinking alcohol. Let us have whatever signs we want. I was proud of my sign that I made back when Duke accused us of being racist. Change the music that plays during timeouts and commercial breaks. I want to kill myself when Fireflies is playing during downtime. I know we are a peculiar people, but we don't need to also be a people with bad taste in music. Well, if you're not convinced the Big 12 can win a championship after all that, then there's no changing your mind. To someone that disagrees with my infallible logic, I rebut that you just don't know ball. Anyway, love you guys. Subscribe for more.